The courts have ruled on the guard. They will be back under my command.
A few moments later.
Okay, why is Trump back in control of the National Guard, you guys? What the hell is going on? First I lose my pool boy Roberto, and now this? I seriously need a mani-pedi right now. A bottle of wine, cherry ice cream, and a whole season of Will and Grace. Fuck this politics thingy.
I'm ready to die for what I believe in. So if you come to run me over, that'll be what it is. Oh my God!
Look, I'm gonna say this shit real motherfucking clear. Y'all try that riot bullshit in Michigan, Detroit, Lansing, Flint, anywhere in Michigan, the blacks and these whites gonna be on your immigrant ass. Trump, get these motherfuckers out our country. I'm telling you, blacks say fuck them immigrants. If you ain't got no documentation, get the fuck out. And I want you to bring that bullshit to Michigan. I'm surprised they let that shit fly in Chicago. You see, Texas ain't fucking around. Cali ain't fucking around. Bring that shit to Michigan if you want to. Nigga, you illegal. You illegal. If they was black, selling drugs, they go to jail. If they do something illegal, you go to jail. White, black, green, yellow. Like, what the fuck? Y'all illegal. Burn another American flag in this bitch. Burn another American flag in this bitch. It's gonna be a civil war, all right? It's gonna be America, the blacks and the whites and the real Americans against you motherfucking aliens. Fuck around and find out, bitch.
These protests are fed by dark sources with a desire for our destruction. One of the main players in organizing and funding the Los Angeles protests is a group called CHIRLA, C-H-I-R-L-A, acronym, Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights. They have received millions in government grants and state grants, but now reports are showing that there may be a foreign link, specifically from China, funding and organizing these protests. The pro-Chinese far-left Party for Socialism and Liberation, they're known as the PSL. They are working with CHIRLA, helping fund the protests in Los Angeles and maybe elsewhere. Remember, all the parties in China are controlled by the CCP. So this is China. And the party is pushing to destroy capitalism and the West. This is its agenda. This is what China wants. They even have a term for the effort. It's called the smokeless war, where they have this theory of how they'll destroy the West without actually taking to the battlefield. That's what they did during the anti-Israel campus protests. The PSL worked hand in glove with anti-Zionist student groups and helped organize and fund the Columbia campus encampments. Now it gets scarier. Where does the PSL get its money? Enter Shanghai-based socialist billionaire Neville Singham. 2017, he sold his tech company for about $1 billion. Reports show the same year he started funding far-left groups like the PSL to the tune of millions. Singham is not America's friend. He has deep business ties to the CCP, but also has strong ideological ties to communism, period. People who worked for him says he's an admirer of Mao, Che Guevara, Hugo Chavez, not friends of American culture. According to the New York Times, Singham has funded and developed a deep global empire of pro-China nonprofits in the media and grassroots political space, steering millions into these groups over the years, including the PSL. And guess who was associated with the PSL and other Singham-funded groups? Elias Rodriguez. Ring a bell? This scumbag, the 30-year-old Chicago man who murdered 2 Israeli staffers in cold blood last month to make a political point.
I live here legally. If America gets destroyed, I have a country to go. But what about you? Where are you going to go?
Unfortunately, nowhere, which is why we're saying, okay.
What you're doing is just sheer waste of time. It calls for your contribution, my contribution to make this country great. But if you want to destroy it, I'm not going to allow that because I have my kids there that came here.
How are they destroying it? How are they?
Okay,
tell us.
One, they don't understand that today being a Saturday, there are people working. They should go and work, contribute to the economy of this country to make sure that this country become better.
Yes.
But they are here wasting time, bullshitting. They get everything for free, Medicaid, Medicare, EBT, and all that bullshit. Come to Africa, cash and carry. If you don't have money, you're not going to eat. You understand? You guys are here, and you are just making noise for no reason. I mean, well, what kind of people is this? And you think all black people are stupid? It's not all of us who are stupid. I mean, America give people the opportunity to fool too much. The stupidity is too much.
He's more than welcome to talk. Okay. I just don't want to trigger the.
I get it. We'll come over here.
I'm sharing an idea.
As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used. We have seen people throw bottles and hammers at them. We've also seen that they have been attacked and verbally spit on or punched or assaulted, and it's just not acceptable. The Department of Homeland Security and the officers and the agencies and the departments and the military people that are working on this operation will continue to sustain and increase our operations in this city. We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
A half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go and stand behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording loud out here. I did not.
How they have been targeted and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
Oh, who's that? Good.
And you ain't seen nothing yet because, among other things, what is this? This is No Kings Week. That's this week. Remember, this upcoming weekend, Saturday, June 14th, is likely to be the largest set of protests yet against Trump and the Trump administration, and Trump knows it's coming.
So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order.
So I hear talk that there's a lot of people planning on doing protests out in the streets across the country soon. I just want to tell you a little fun fact about truck drivers. You see this thing behind me? 80,000 pounds. It takes nearly 2 football fields to come to a complete stop when we're driving at interstate speed. For us truck drivers out here, we're just trying to make a living. We're just trying to pay our bills, support our families, and go home. And I can tell you this, if you guys start standing out in the middle of the interstate, us truck drivers, we're not going to stop. You see, a truck driver by the name of Reginald Denny stopped once for a protest. Rather, it was more of a riot. And he got pulled out of his truck, and he got beaten to death. A man that had a family to go home to who was just trying to do his job. So if you decide to stand in front of one of these on the interstate for your little protest or whatever you want to call it, I call it domestic terrorism, I guarantee you that truck driver that fears for their life is going to do whatever they have to do to get themselves out of that situation where they feel they're in danger. And in that situation, the best thing for us to do is push that throttle to the floor.
You remember that really giant day of protests against Trump back on April 5th? Remember that huge day of protests?
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now.
I just got offered $200 to go protest ICE right here in New York City. There's an organization called the Kings. Basically, on June 14, they're going to have a big protest. They're recruiting people, telling you people where they got to go, what streets to be in. They're also going to be delivering bricks in case they have to defend themselves. The craziest part is they said if you get arrested, you will be provided with a lawyer free of charge to get you out of jail. Like, this is insane. Now, since I'm Latino, they probably saw me as an easy target, mostly going after Latinos like me, but what they don't know is that I'm a legal immigrant here, and I would not sell on my country for $200. Actually, I would not sell on my country for any amount because this country has given me so much to me and my family. There's no way I'm gonna sell out. But think about all the people who need the money right now and taking the bait, you know, to go protest. This is some scary crap. I mean, the fact that you have to pay people to go protest is insane, and people are gonna fall for it because people do need the money. What do you guys think about this crazy scam? And did I do the right thing by refusing to sell out my country? Please, leave me a comment below.
These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters.
So do you want to know what all this craziness in LA is really about? The riots, the organized protests, and the current chaos unfolding in the sanctuary city known as Los Angeles? Well, it's not organic, and it's definitely not random. It's actually a calculated move by the leftist ruling class to protect the one thing that keeps them in power: census-based political control. You see, House seats and electoral votes aren't based on how many citizens live in a state, just how many people are counted in that state, and that includes illegal aliens. They are counted as well. So when over 10 million plus flood across the border into blue states like New York and California over the last 4 years, it's not about compassion, it's about math. More bodies equals more power in Congress. But now, mass deportations and people fleeing these blue states are threatening that math. For every 740,000 illegal aliens that are deported from a blue state is one congressional seat in 2030. And if that trend continues, the DNC just doesn't lose votes, they lose control, and likely for good. This is why they would burn a city down like LA to stop Trump. This is why we're seeing the panic. Media hysteria to stop deportations, state-level obstruction to protect population counts, protests and riots like we're seeing in LA designed to bait the feds and flip the narrative. This was never about human rights or compassion. They don't care about you. They don't care about your safety. They only care about control and power. It's political survival, and the census is the real battlefield. Let me know what you think in the comments and hit that follow.
Something that my team found that will absolutely shock you. Ever since the election, Democrats have been trying to scare people into believing that Donald Trump and Elon Musk were coming for your Social Security, that they were coming for your Medicare, your Medicaid. They aren't. None of it was ever true, and now we have the proof. According to the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, Elon Musk's team has just discovered that immigration officials under Joe Biden were doing something that's never been done before. They were giving illegal aliens work authorization papers just 5 months after they filed for asylum. The Biden Immigration Department would then mail each illegal alien a Social Security number, no questions asked, no interview, no background check, and presto, you've got yourself a brand new Democratic voter. That's how they were doing it. No administration has ever done anything like it before, but clearly Democrats had a plan all along. A plan that the media deliberately never talked about. A plan that was considered the third rail, off limits to even mention in polite company. They were importing voters. We have an answer to that question now. And while they were doing that, they were telling you this.
Well, there certainly is not an open border.
The border is secure, but we also have a broken immigration system.
The border is closed. The border is secure.
I just laid that really clear. It would be wrong to think that the border is open. It is not open.
They were importing Democratic voters, lying to the American public, and now we have the proof. According to the Social Security Administration, the crime started immediately after Joe Biden took office in 2021. 270,000 illegals were given Social Security numbers. That's about the population of Hartford, Connecticut. That number would grow a year later to 590,000 illegals getting Social Security numbers, about the size of Cincinnati, Ohio. A year later, 2023, 964,000 illegals got Social Security numbers, about the size of San Francisco. And in Joe Biden's final year in office, on his way out the door, that number skyrocketed to just over 2 million illegal aliens getting Social Security numbers, roughly the size of our third biggest city, Chicago. In all, more than 3 million illegal aliens that crossed the border when Joe Biden was president now have Social Security numbers today that we know about, and it gets worse. According to Doge, 1.3 million illegal aliens are currently on Medicaid, and at least 500,000 now have a driver's license, and they are killing Americans behind the wheel. Over the last 4 years on U.S. roads, dozens of deaths that didn't need to happen. And some of these illegal aliens actually voted in the 2024 election. Something we were told was not happening is now a reality.
The Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States.
We actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records, and we found people here registered to vote. In this population, yes.
And who did vote?
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote, and we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already.
They have made that information public. Anybody who's curious can look at it. Do you still think that Elon Musk is trying to destroy Social Security? Do you still think that he's trying to destroy Medicare or Medicaid? We talked about that for weeks. We do not. And we think you need to know the truth. We can also confirm what we have suspected all along, that when Joe Biden said this, he absolutely meant it.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
He meant every word of that. For years, we would ask, why would anyone let 15 million criminals into the country illegally? They're here illegally. That makes them criminals. Why would any leader want to do that? Why would anyone want to fundamentally change the racial and ethnic makeup of the greatest country on earth, America? And now the answer is crystal clear. This was their plan all along. Democrats know that the only way their broken party can win elections in the future is to import voters. So that's exactly what they did, while telling the public that the border was closed. The border was closed, and they said that over and over again for 4 years. And the other option is simple. Joe Biden has got dementia. He was never in control or in charge, and as a result of that, bad actors were likely running the White House. The answer now is probably a combination of the two. But America needs answers, and Republicans have to investigate and possibly prosecute whoever perpetrated the greatest single crime in American history, and that's what this is. 15 million illegal aliens in this country in a 4-year period. These people should not be here. And it's time for Republicans to start doing exactly what Democrats did to them. People don't like the word revenge. Why not? It's time for that if it's warranted. When Donald Trump left office after his first term, Democrats prosecuted everyone. Steve Bannon went to jail. Peter Navarro went to jail. Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Rick Gates, George Papadopoulos. Anyone who did anything related to Donald Trump got indicted because Democrats play dirty, and they are much better at it than Republicans. So where are we today? Well, the White House is trying to undo all of this right now. And Democrats are protesting for illegal alien gang members who have already been deported to be brought back to the United States. That's how broken that party is.
This is what kicking the out of fascism looks like.
I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. So we are very big on the chanting, and you'll have all the energy today. So, no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
If you've got the means to unlawfully deport someone, you find the means to bring them back.
Bring them back. They want criminals back in the country. This is a Democrat-endorsed plan. For 4 years, Joe Biden claimed he needed Congress to close that border. That was a lie. According to the Department of Homeland Security today, illegal border crossings in March dropped to their lowest levels in recorded history, dropping by over 95% from what they were 1 year ago.
During the same period last year, Joe Biden released more than 184,000 illegal aliens into our country. Think of it. Many of these people were from jails and mental institutions, as I said. Since my inauguration, we've released a grand total of nine. And they were all, in all cases, medical emergencies. But we will continue to deport these monsters under the Alien Enemies Act. Think of that, Alien Enemies Act. Can you believe it?
Many Democrats, many stars of the Democratic Party seem to be really confused about what the law is here in the United States. They seem to think that what the White House and what ICE are doing is illegal. It's not.
My Republican colleagues are here using today to continue pushing this false narrative of sanctuary cities harboring criminals. Yet right here in D.C., we have a 34-count felon being harbored in the White House. The hypocrisy coming from your side of the aisle over concerns regarding lawlessness is outrageous. Right now, House Republicans are conducting town halls with constituents lying about our legal system. That, quote, there is no due process if you come here illegally because you violated the law. That immigrants, quote, are not entitled to due process. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that.
Well, now, hold on a second there, Jasmine. Actually, it most certainly does. We looked into it. I'm sorry to be the very first person to tell you this, Jasmine, but illegal aliens do not have the same rights as U.S. citizens. They do not have due process under the law like U.S. citizens do. According to the law, protections for illegal aliens are limited. They are not entitled to a public defender. There is no jury because these proceedings happen in civil court. The standard of proof is also a whole lot lower. Essentially, federal agents just have to present proof that they are here illegally before an immigration judge, and then they can be deported. The truth is, this is a losing issue. It's a losing issue for Americans, it's a losing issue for sanctuary cities, and it's a losing issue for Democrats who, for whatever reason, have decided that these people who have nothing to do with America because they are not American are more important than you, to the point where the White House, under Joe Biden, tried to replace you and your vote with them, and now we finally have the proof.
It's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing, and it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee.
Stephen, Illinois Governor Pritzker just called for mass protests and disruption, saying Republicans cannot know peace. while Trump's border crossings are down 95% and ICE is locking up 800 criminals. Is Pritzker inciting insurrection, and will DOJ take action?
Well, what I would say is that his comments, if nothing else, clearly can be construed as inciting violence. So President Trump survived 2 assassination attempts against his life. Of course, there's been many more credible threats against President Trump and his family and associates. We've, of course, seen the spate of left-wing domestic terrorism all across this country. By the way, the destruction of property sits directly adjacent to attacks on humans and physical attacks. In other words, once you tolerate and once you allow for attacks on property, you're just a step away from people throwing Molotov cocktails into people's homes.
Oh boy, the dummies are out again. This time they're mad because the country they live in are deporting illegal immigrants. You know, the thing every country in the entire world does. You think they even know that?
Quit your jobs! Be the good guys!
I'm not sure they understand how anything works. Some of them don't even know why they're there.
What are you gonna do? Huh? What are you gonna do? I don't know, I'm just kinda here. Just keep the finger up? Yeah. There you go.
You know, you'd think if you're waving the flag of the country these people are being sent back to, you'd be happy for them. I mean, they are getting a free ride back to your favorite place.
What's the purpose of bringing out the Mexican flags today here while we are in the United States? Honestly, I have no idea, bro. I just came here to just show out. That's it, bro.
Boy, these people really are confused. Look at their leader.
Donald Trump!
A garbage pail kid, armed with a leaf blower.
If you have a fucking blower, bring it up!
Yeah, that'll stop them. How will they ever get past that wind?
Donald Trump! Fascism! Let our people free!
Could you imagine being in this crowd right now, standing next to this thing and repeating anything it says? If you're having a bad day, just refer to this scene right here and be thankful this isn't you. You'll feel much better, I promise you.
I was 12 then! I'm 44 now! I will die for my f***ing kids!
Oh boy, looks like he sent his foot soldiers out for their first side mission. Yeah, nothing says justice like stealing Sour Patch Kids from CVS. Oh yeah, and don't forget, you can't secure a revolution without stealing crop tops from Zara's. Bunch of demoralized opportunists. Ah, this is nice. Just your average happy-go-lucky fella attempting to kill Border Patrol agents with rocks. Yeah, that'll stop people from being deported. Yeah, you never see this in the Visit LA travel brochures. How many of these people do you think go home to a studio apartment that smells like old bong water and wet socks? Meanwhile, in a small American town somewhere, a man drives through his entire state without a single dumpster fire on the road. Nobody throwing rocks at his cars, nobody burning the American flag, no garbage pail kids hanging off his bumper. Now, why doesn't that happen here, I wonder? Maybe because in some places, people actually like the country they live in. Imagine that.
Major Bass, if you can hear me, expect my ass in your office on Monday for attacking my children. This is our city, and this was Mexico. You can't kick us out of the land that was ours.
Well, this weekend, this Saturday, June 14th, there are already more than 1,800 protests scheduled against Trump all around the country.
Hey, to everybody out there in L.A., rioting, protesting, carrying on, time to go back to the crib. You're flying your Mexican flags, you're flying your flags of whatever country you got going on, you could go right back there to that country. I mean, if it's so bad right here, if you hate it so much, why don't you go back? I don't understand. And why should we, the blacks, support you? For what? Because if we do something wrong, we get locked up straight away. But when you do something wrong, it's no problem. You guys get to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, and then try to recruit us into your nonsense. Nah, you on your own.
It's going to be like twice the size of that massive day of protest that we saw on April 5th.
I just got offered $200 a day to go protest ICE in New York. The organization was called No Kings. They said, June 14th, we're going to be protesting, and these are the streets that you need to be on, and this is what you need to do. You need to cause chaotic disruptions. And they said that there's going to be pallets of like bricks and different things everywhere that protesters could use. They really want to wreak havoc. It's kind of ridiculous. Me as an American, you know, although I need the money, I'm like, this is very, very unpatriotic. If I was to go take this money and go protest, it's not very American. It's not what I stand for. It's obviously not even, you know, worth the time. But, you know, $200 a day is what they're paying people to go protest. The corruption is up here because it goes way beyond these organizations. They want to destroy America, and you know, people like me that need money are gonna go do it. I'm not gonna go do it, but people are gonna go do it. They're gonna go destroy, you know, the city and cause chaos. It's just crazy that, you know, they're even paying people to go do this. It just goes to show that everything we deal with is corruption, and these people at the top level, like, who's paying for this? There's got to be some billionaires paying for this so that, you know, they could try to get Trump out or something. But, you know, $200 a day to go cause chaos is, like, crazy. Not worth it, but also, like, really fucked up.
Without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out. All right, you guys, so we got Gavin Newsom releasing a new update where it appears that he is literally crying while giving his message. We got Heather Mullins here on X saying, cringe. What kind of weak leader cries like this? Trump gets shot and pumps his fist in the air, ready to fight. Gavin Newsom gets Trump's help to clean up the chaos in his mess of a state. He literally cries over it. They are not the same. Come on, y'all.
We all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please, please do it peacefully.
So I live in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, and I live where all these ICE protests are currently happening, and I've been talking about them since they first started. Let me tell you, it's not getting better. Don't listen to the media. They're fucking lying to you. They're trying to make it seem like Los Angeles is under control and not under siege. It is under siege, okay? I woke up today and more businesses were looted, robbed, destroyed, cars burned, bricks thrown, fucking graffiti all over the walls. Our fucking city is under siege. It is in no way under control, okay? This is the typical left-wing narrative bullshit that they're trying to show you the peaceful side of the protest on TV. Only maybe fucking 10 or 15% of it is peaceful. The rest of it is a bunch of psychopaths in fucking masks and fucking leaf blowers in hand and fucking helmets on, fucking hard hats, thinking that they're going to some type of fucking war. When in all reality, they're just a bunch of immature assholes that are unemployed who just want to bring destruction to the fucking city and want to rob everybody because they're angry at themselves because their life sucks and they can't accept that their shortcomings are simply because they're fucking failures. And we have to fucking deal with this. So in order for this to fucking stop, we need to put in some type of curfew, and the curfew needs to be noon. You want to protest, you can protest in the morning from fucking 7 a.m. to fucking noon, or 8 a.m. to fucking noon, and then that's it. You're on the street, you get detained, you get fucking taken into custody. This needs to stop. We cannot have LA turn into some crazy fucking shithole with a bunch of fucking criminals who are not doing this to help illegals. They're doing this so they could rob and destroy the city.
That you're tracking actually had an internal memo that was released that stated that the government of China considered you a prime target for influence operations. I'm letting you know that now because I do believe that you should be made aware of, if you are not already, that you are working with and going to be speaking at an organization and rally that not is just funded by Christy Walton, the heiress of Walmart, but also has ties to the Chinese Progressive Association, largely funding it, that actually brags on their website that they are pro-Maoist. Also, too, funded by the National Endowment for Democracy. I know there's a lot of people on this committee that don't like billionaires interfering in politics, but say nothing when George Soros gets over $260 million from USAID through the last administration that's then funneled into some of these nonprofits and organizations. So I guess my question for you guys is, now that I've made you aware that these riots are not about illegals and they're not about immigrants, if they did, they would have been protesting under Barack Obama, who's also dubbed the deporter-in-chief. And frankly, I think many of you would say that Barack Obama was a good president. Are you going to say that Barack Obama wasn't a good president? Yes or no, Governor Walz? Do you think he was a good president?
Do I think Barack Obama was a good
Correct.
president? I think he did a good job.
Okay, how about you, Governor Pritzker?
I think he did a good job.
Hochul?
Hochul, and yes, he did do a good job.
Okay, next. Perryman?
I think President Obama did a good job.
So then you would understand that Barack Obama had the very same policies, for the most part, on immigration that Republicans are parroting today, and yet you guys are sitting here saying that we're Gestapo. And what I would tell you is that what happens with open borders is that the real people that are coming here, the ones that are exploited, actually it hurts people on both sides, not just Americans, but the illegals. Some of you had said here to the actual committee that you are doing what you can to assist these people, but what I would say is that your policies aren't actually done from a place of understanding and sympathy. I would say that it's actually doing the exact opposite. And when you use brown people, just like they use black people with BLM and Marxists during BLM to usher that in, when you use brown people and you put Mexican flags with them saying that you stand up for illegal immigrants, but you follow the money and it's going back to the Communist Party, what you're essentially doing is using your platform as elected officials, the trust that the American people have put in you, essentially to usher in communism. You're not actually fighting for American values. Don't roll your eyes, because it's a serious topic and that's where the money's coming from. So now I'm informing you, so now you guys can make your decisions, but please be informed, sir, Mr. Walz, that if you truly do uphold the American ideologies and perspectives on the Constitution, you should not be speaking at that rally. I've given you the correct information, and as of right now, I've authorized a letter to be sent to my office to the President of the United States to rescind millions of dollars in funding that we know are going to the No Kings protests that were authorized and basically given under the last administration. That is what Congress is supposed to do, not point fingers, not blame people, but actually ensure that the American people are protected and not fighting for foreign interests, foreign governments, and also the communist
Will the gentlelady yield for...
I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear.
For the love of God, where are the damages for Americans? Where do I even begin? Where do I even start? We used to have a functioning public school system in this country. Then we had open borders. Now our schools are in chaos and disarray. We need hundreds of translators. Nobody's learning how to read or write. An entire generation of Americans, multiple generations, in fact, have been robbed of educational opportunities. Entire cities. Look at Los Angeles. Once a paradise of safety, security, and prosperity. Entire neighborhoods occupied and controlled by foreign gangs. Where do all the residents who've been displaced, who've been forced out of Los Angeles, where do they go to get their reparations? And then what about the victims of fentanyl poisoning brought in by Democrats' open border? Hundreds of thousands of moms and dads whose kids are dead and buried in the ground. Where do they go to get their reparations from the government? And then all the women who have been raped, who've been beaten, who've been murdered, all the dads who've been shot dead and aren't home, all the police officers who've been slain by illegal aliens in ambush attacks in the line of duty. Where do any of these people go? Where do any of their families go to get reparations? Or the 500,000 children that Joe Biden trafficked across the southern border and put into the hands of unvetted so-called sponsors? Do you know how many stories I could tell you of children that were trafficked across the border and raped because of the policies of Joe Biden? There aren't enough volumes that could fit into a library to calculate the carnage that has been inflicted by the Democrat Party's policy of open borders. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to document those harms. Where does our whole country go to get repaid for all of the wealth, all of the prosperity and security that has been stolen from us by decades of uncontrolled illegal mass migration? Because we all deserve reparations for what has been stolen from us. It is a tragedy that defies our ability to even describe it.
Preach, brother. I love it. And that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
If you voted for Donald Trump, then that means that you voted for people to be deported, and you voted for children to be taken away from their families, and you're racist, and you're a monster, and you have no empathy, and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. The alternative was voting for a woman who was in charge of the border for the last 4 years, and over 300,000 children have gone missing under her watch, many of whom have now been sex trafficked or labor trafficked or are still missing. Tell me again how I didn't vote for the best interests of children? The alternative was voting for an administration who for the last 4 years let millions of illegal unvetted people to come into the country where my children live and play Russian roulette with American safety. The alternative was voting for a woman who could not do one interview and give a clear and direct explanation of what she had planned for the border. What you're seeing is that she failed at her job for the last 4 years of keeping that border secure. And before you're like, oh, well, it's not everybody. There are people that come to have a better life, and there are good people. Nobody's saying that there's not. And nobody's saying that they can't be here. Do it the right way. There's 100 people that come. One is bad. The rest are good. Guess what? I don't want that risk. My kids live here. There is a reason that these laws are in place. It's to protect American citizens. I don't know why you guys cannot see that. I don't know what's not clicking. What's not clicking. And then you hear, well, Americans commit more crimes in America than other people. And what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I don't want a criminal in office. I would never vote for a criminal. So the alternative was letting in millions of criminals. That's the better alternative. You guys are like, sometimes I wonder. The difference between someone who voted for Donald Trump and someone who voted for Kamala Harris, if you ask someone why they voted for Donald Trump, they can give you reasons, logic, statistics, facts. If you ask someone why they voted for Kamala Harris, they're going to give you reasons why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. See the difference? If you watch Donald Trump's campaign, it's about policies that he planned to implement for America. If you watch Kamala's campaign, it's about why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. Do you see the difference? The right was focused on the right. The left is also focused on the right. There's a problem there. Whenever the left talks about politics, they're always talking about why Orange man bad, and they are never talking about why Kamala is the better choice, because you can't. Because if you focus on policies and numbers and facts, you focus on the effects that it had on Americans, and you love America, then you'd be forced to acknowledge maybe it isn't the better choice. And that is why more people than ever have left the Democratic Party. So the next time you say that somebody who voted for Donald Trump, who voted in favor of deportations, is a racist, I want you to tell me what the alternative was, the effects of the alternative, and why that alternative was a better choice. Thank you.
IRS documents show $34 million in government grants, including 3 from President Biden's DHS for $750 grand. President Trump cut that off. It also gets state and city grant money for lawyers to fight deportations. Churla spends $10 million a year on salaries, including $200,000 for the director, Angelica Salas.
So we are asking that everybody that got arrested today be released. That's right. We want them in their houses, with their families, with their children.
Churla also founded the Rapid Response Network. That's the hotline immigrants use to report ICE raids. It will then text these alerts so immigrants can go hide and activists can stop ICE operations.
And so I was in a room yesterday morning, meeting with the immigrant rights organizations, and all of a sudden everybody's cell phones started blowing up. That's when we all heard about a raid that was taking place in Whittier.
So another organizer is SEIU. You see the purple there. They have 700,000 members. The union turns out big numbers. Others are simply there to bash capitalism.
The real workers, the working class is the one that builds this country. Yet it's the billionaires in power that continue to harass us and attack us and take absolutely everything from us.
Operation Healthy Hearts, according to the New York Post, handed out face shields and riot gear to protesters. Now, their kits include a lawyer's phone number to get out of jail, and some of these groups could face prosecution for aiding and abetting.
They might think they're making the community safer, but they're not. And we won't put up with that, and we're going to take criminal action against those type of organizations.
So this definitely looks like something worth investigating or looking into a little bit more. We got Carl DeMaio here on X tweeting out saying the group instigating many of the LA riots in Los Angeles is Churla, which is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, LA, which got $34 million in your tax dollars last year from Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrats. Defund the left. Oh my goodness. All right, so the question remains, who is Churla? Who is running this organization? And how did they get a hold to so much taxpayer money? Government grants, $34 million is insane. We got Chicago One Ray here on X with an explanation coming from our boy Vince. Check this out.
Confront the police. Which is, of course, what they were doing last night. Now, the funding of these organizations is really important. There's a group called Churla, which has caught some attention, and rightfully so. Laura Powell is an attorney She had a great thread on this this week. And she said, you know, if you're a Californian right now, you should know that you are funding the riots that are going on here. They've been set off by an organization called the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights LA. That's what it stands for, CHRLA. She says it's one of the key players in fomenting all of the violent response here to immigration enforcement actions. It's an LA-based nonprofit, and it's got a huge history of taking radical positions on immigration. You know what that means. They're for illegal aliens invading the country. In 2018, they supported a campaign to abolish ICE. In fact, I checked their website this morning. I was looking over it. They've got teams of people who are dedicated to helping illegal aliens stay in the country and mount legal defenses for them to try and scramble the court process and keep illegal aliens here and prevent them from being deported. They're full-time dedicated to the invasion of the United States. That's what this group is. And right now, they currently lead something called the Los Angeles Rapid Response Network, which gathers intel about enforcement actions, that would be law enforcement, and then deploys activists to respond. That's another way of saying obstruct justice. CHRLA has very strong ties to the Democrat Party in California, and they've supported the election of Democrat candidates through their lobbying arm. They have a very close relationship with the out-of-control Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass.
And then we got Natalie Winters here on X tweeting out saying anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles are being organized by the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, CHRLA, and CHRLA is coincidentally funded by Act Blue, the Democratic donor campaign organization. This is absolutely insane. Okay, I'm not surprised to see that Act Blue is behind CHRLA, because that was going to be my next question. Who is behind CHRLA? Who's funding them? Looks like they have very strong ties to the Democratic Party if they're being funded by Act Blue. Ties to Karen Bass, ties to Governor Gavin Newsom as well. Then we got Laura Powell here on X tweeting out saying just today, CHRLA removed the pages on their website that provided information about their staff and board of directors. And we can see that here it is completely blank. There is nothing on the about us, our people, connect, contact us. There is nothing there at all. I mean, these folks have completely went ghost. They're trying to dodge all accountability. They don't want to get traced back to them for investigation. They don't come in for question. They've deleted, removed all traces of who is actually connected to folks who are working within this organization. Total corruption here. I would love to see a full-scale investigation launched into CHRLA and their involvement and how they're getting so much money, taxpayer dollars coming from our government and government grants. Then we got the whole back and forth. I remember I covered this on my last video with Governor Gavin Newsom and JD Vance having a little bit of a back and forth, a spat. I'm talking about essentially saying, just do your job. Do your job. This is how this all started. We had JD Vance tweeting out saying that Gavin Newsom is neglecting his responsibility. And we just asked that he does his job. We seen that Governor Gavin Newsom tweeted back out, responding to JD Vance saying, you do your job. We didn't have a problem until Trump got involved, rescind the order and return control to California, which we can see there was not going to be any control in California if Donald Trump did not send that order for the troops to show up and save their butts. We got JD Vance with a tweet of his own, heating him up, saying Gavin Newsom says he didn't have a problem until Trump got involved. Both of these photos were taken before the president authorized the National Guard to go protect our border patrol in California. Does this look like no problem? Let's just take a look really quickly at the photos. This looks like a problem. I mean, this was the site that we kept seeing. It was just like burn after burnt up cars, burnt American flags. They were attacking officers. You can see it right here, attacking officers. Like, the sites we were seeing were horrible. It was so scary. So glad that Donald Trump sent that support. And he continues on saying Newsom and his stooge, Karen Bass, fomented and encouraged the riots because their entire political movement exists for one purpose, to promote mass migration into our country. It is the reason for being. Democratic leadership has no solution for the economy, for prosperity, or for security. They use their power when they're in the majority to import millions of illegal migrants, and when they're in the opposition, they do everything possible to prevent the deportations. Underneath Gavin Newsom's leadership, Medicaid was extended to all illegal immigrants in 2024. We're paying for, oh, wait a minute. We're paying for this? Medicaid was extended to all illegal immigrants in 2024 underneath Gavin Newsom's leadership. Okay, I was just making sure I was reading that right. That is absolutely insane. I want to know, Californians, are you guys going to stand for this? This means that he elected to take health care from impoverished and disabled Californians and give it to illegal aliens. And now everything is President Donald Trump's fault? Give me a break. If you want to know why illegal aliens flock to your state, stop accusing Donald Trump and look in the mirror. If you want to know why the Border Patrol fear for their lives over enforcing the law, look in the mirror. It was your policies that encouraged mass migration into California, your policies that protected those migrants from common sense law enforcement, your policies that offered massive welfare benefits to reward illegal migrants, your policies that allowed those illegal immigrants and their sympathizers to assault our law enforcement agents, your policies that allowed Los Angeles to turn into a complete war zone. You sure as hell had a problem before President Trump came along. The problem is you. Wow. Boom, talk about a freaking nuke.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you with us today. We all saw what happened in the video of that room when he was physically taken out, and you heard just now his response, and I understand you had a personal conversation with him as well. So what do you want to say about all of this?
You know, what I would say is we were conducting a press conference to update everyone on the enforcement actions that are ongoing to bring peace to the city of Los Angeles. And this man burst into the room, started lunging towards the podium, interrupting me and elevating his voice, and was stopped, did not identify himself, and was removed from the room. So as soon as he identified himself, appropriate actions were taken. But I would say that, I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time, and that this, we're leaders, we're public servants. And if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information, and I think that's the way it should be in this country. I wish he would have acted that way in the beginning instead of creating a scene like this.
Well, you're saying that nobody knew who he was, and if they did, he would have been treated differently. And you just heard his comment. He said, if this is the way they treat a U.S. senator, you can only imagine how others are being treated in these deportation efforts. What would you say to that, Secretary?
Yeah. I think his statement is absolutely ridiculous. This man burst into a room, started advancing towards the podium, interrupting an opening statement, elevating his voice, shouting questions. People tried to stop him from interrupting the press conference. He refused and continued to lunge towards the podium, and that is when he was removed from the room. So the way that he acted was completely inappropriate. It wasn't becoming a U.S. senator or a public official, and perhaps he wanted the scene, and that's what he wanted. But I think the American people are sick of this kind of action. I think the American people are tired of this. They just want the truth, and they just want to know what's happening, and that's what we were trying to provide.
We just had a Democrat and a Republican panelists, and both sides agreed that they felt this was unbecoming behavior of a United States senator. But apparently Chuck Schumer doesn't feel that way. Senator Schumer, here's what he just had to say. Watch.
Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on.
How can these federal agents get away with this? Is the President of the United States telling folks to go down and start arresting United States senators?
What would you say to them, Secretary?
Well, he was never arrested. He was never arrested, and nobody knew who he was when he came into the room creating a scene. He was removed from the room, and yes, they started to put handcuffs on him when he finally identified himself, and then that was stopped. They said he wants to talk to you. I said, sure, I'd love to sit down and visit. So we went to a room and visited for 10 or 15 minutes and then exchanged phone numbers. So I just, I'm so sick of the politics, Martha. This is literally people's lives. We have criminal gangs and terrorists out on our streets that we're trying to remove from Los Angeles. I mean, people just need to get over themselves and have the backs of law enforcement and this president who just want to clean up America and make it safe again.
Yeah, we watched your whole news conference, and then Todd Lyons speaking as well, the director of ICE, who we've spoken with many times, talking about the importance of removing these criminals from the streets. I thought it was very interesting, this exchange with Peter Doocy and President Trump. about, who is being detained, who's being arrested, and maybe some changes perhaps to some of the, how some of these situations will be handled. Listen to what President Trump just said about the people who work in the farmlands in California. Watch.
Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because we've been, hearing that anyone who's here illegally will be removed because they've broken the law by crossing over. And obviously the president is citing at least one situation where he wants to see a different approach.
Well, the president wants to enforce the law, and people who've come into this country illegally have broken the law. There are Department of Labor programs and regulations that we can utilize, and he recognizes that there's a very big difference between those who perpetuate criminal activity and are in trafficking and drug trafficking, and those who have been here who want to be a part of the American dream. I still continue to encourage people to self-deport. Go out there and self-deport. When you get home, you will have the opportunity to receive $1,000 from the United States of America. We will pay your way, and you'll get the chance to come back here legally through these programs that we can utilize. And that's what the president wants to see. He recognizes that they're good people, but there needs to be application of the law in this country. That's what he ran on and what he'll deliver.
Are you seeing an increase in that? Because I heard you make that point today as well, Secretary Noam, and I thought, is that part of these operations? Obviously, you want to get these criminals out of the country who you have detainers for, but do you also want to encourage people to be a little bit jarred by this and say, you know what, I'm going to do the app and I'm going to take the $1,000 and I'm going to get out of here?
Well, I want to remind you, Martha, that who's elevating these tensions are these professional violent protesters. People have the right to peacefully protest, but then you have professionals that have been funded by NGOs, some of them by former government grants under Joe Biden. They've used those dollars to train people to come in and commit acts of violence during these peaceful protests. So there's a big difference between peaceful protests and what these professionals are doing. That's what's escalated the tensions. All we've been doing is enforcing the law, and I would tell everybody, if you wait till we arrest you and remove you from the country, you will never get the chance to come back to America. Right. The president's been very clear on that. So self-deport, and then we will help facilitate you coming back here legally and getting the chance to live the American dream.
Are you seeing an acceleration of people taking that option in the course of last week?
We are. I would encourage everybody, download the CBP Home app. Download that app. We will buy your plane ticket. We'll help you get home. When you get there, you'll get $1,000, and we'll facilitate you getting a process to where you can be here and be a part of our future.
Well, I know you talked a lot about the attacks on your officers and concussions and having pieces of cement thrown at them, which is just absolutely horrible criminal behavior that we've watched play out here. So we wish them well out there on the streets, and we thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Raquel.
Fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up and stop this violence before it consumes a great city like Los Angeles, then there's no telling where this could spread.
Hi guys, I called on this press conference to let everyone know that I am in fact retarded. I know most of you already knew that, but just in case any of you still has any doubt whatsoever on whether I'm a retard or not, I want you to know that I am retarded. Oh, and Gavin Newsom is also retarded. He's super retarded. Oh, and every single Democrat, too. All Democrats are retarded. That's it.
What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters. It's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing, and it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee. Hardworking, good people, and they're the backbone of our city, and they should have access to all the things that we have access to. And I just don't think they understand that it's a political pawn. I don't think they understand
it's a political game.
This is not done for compassion and kindness.
No,
this is just done to ensure that it stays blue.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially a bribery with your tax dollars.
Yes, this is why the Dems will not even deport criminals.
Yeah.
Because every criminal deported is a lost vote.